Fam, what's up? Good morning. Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. I hope you had a great weekend. I know you guys did as Alabama defeats LSU 42-28. Can I get a Roll Tide inside the comment box? Thank you very much for joining me this fine Monday. Here are the topics that we're going to touch on today. Kentucky up next. Alabama opens as a 10-point favorite. Don't let that game be a trap game. Don't let that game be a rat poison game. I want to get your thoughts on Jalen Milroe. And when you call in, you can pick any of the topics on the board. Honestly, I want to just talk with you. It could be college football centric, but here are some topics that I know are hot. What's up? I see you guys inside the comment box. Josh, Steven, Quincy, what's up? I appreciate you guys joining me. And remember, we got Coach Saban at 12 p.m. And we also have Jalen Milroe, who will also be at the podium. What a performance by the young man. 4 rushing touchdowns, finally used his legs to take over a game, beat a Heisman contender in Jaden Daniels. What a game that was, and what a statement game that was. And I know the playoff committee is looking at these marquee wins on the back end of the schedule, and I think it's important too. Let me touch on these quick topics before I take your phone calls. I know you guys are already lined up. We got an 832 and a 256 lined up, and I'll get to you guys in just a second. Thoughts on Kentucky, quickly. Cannot let this be a trap game. These guys have played teams close within the SEC, played Tennessee close. I know Georgia got away from them, but this is a good team. I think going on the road in Lexington presents its own challenges, especially coming off a game like this. You can't start reading the type of news clippings. You can't see where you're ranked in the playoff rankings. It doesn't matter. You got to keep winning. We all know the recipe for Alabama to make the college football playoffs is to simply continue to win, and you want to play an undefeated Georgia team, in my opinion. That's why we're all watching Georgia taking on Ole Miss. That game is pivotal. I think the seeding committee is going to look at where things stand with the SEC. And if Georgia's unbeaten and number one, which I think they should be, by the way, after their victory over Missouri, then you got to put Alabama into the playoffs if they were to beat Georgia undefeated team. We're talking rat poison here. Okay, on Jalen Milroe real quick. Look, it was an incredible performance. I've been high on Jalen Milroe. I've been telling you guys to believe that whole let a naysayer know. That's been coming too. And with 4 rushing touchdowns and the way he was able to distribute the football to his running backs, I really like that. Look, he was inaccurate at times. He missed Isaiah Bond on a touchdown. There was some good coverage from LSU, but his deep ball wasn't there, but his playmaking ability has been there throughout the season, and it's been an amazing journey to follow such a dynamic individual. I think Jalen Milroe is a player that everybody is really falling in love with because of his personality and kind of the maturation that we've continued to see for him throughout this season. It's really been amazing to see the growth of him, and Coach Saban had a lot of positive things to say about Jalen Milroe after the game. It was an incredible performance. Is this a top 4 type team? Look, in my opinion, Alabama is a top 4. I released my own playoff rankings yesterday, and I do have Alabama within the top 4. Is that being homerish? I don't know, possibly. But let me ask you this. Out of the top teams, and we can bring up the graphic and kind of look at it, where are teams playing right now? Where are teams playing today? And I want to know, is the committee ranking this as an overall, or are we looking at where the teams are as of today? I think the playoffs have to be as of right now. Ohio State. Look, these guys were trailing Rutgers 9-7 at the halftime break. If it wasn't for an interception that was returned for a touchdown, who knows what happens in that game. Georgia. I think they should be at the number 1 spot after beating Missouri. That's a really good Missouri team. I like what they brought to the table in that particular game. Number 3, Michigan. I know they haven't played anybody as of yet. Their time is coming because they have Penn State and they do have Ohio State, and all the things continuing to circulate them. With that said, they are putting teams away handedly. Number 4, Florida State. Jordan Travis once again does his thing against Pitt. They win 24-7. Those wide receivers are really good. And really, when you look at comparative scores, which I know you really can't do, Florida State beat LSU kind of the same, almost the same score as Alabama beat LSU, and you take away those 2 missed field goals by Will Riker, those scores are close. That was back in week 1. Here we are back in week 10 or whatever we're in. Washington goes on the road and they're able to beat USC. I thought that was a good win for the Huskies overall. It's just like when you look to these Pac-12 teams and their schedule, and here we're talking about Oregon at the number 6 spot, I just don't think that they've had a strong schedule, honestly. Bring up Oregon's schedule, and I know they played Washington close, but really, I just don't think that they have the schedule of strength. I asked Jalen Milroe about their ability to be battle tested this year. Look at the gauntlet that Alabama just went through. Okay, you had on the road at Texas A&M. You had Arkansas, who punches above their weight. You have a very good Tennessee team that was ranked, and then you have this last game against LSU, another ranked team. You look at these teams kind of floating around this top 8, top 10. How would those teams fare in those type of games, right? Would they be able to string off 4 consecutive wins? By the way, Alabama has won 7 consecutive games. You look to Texas against Kansas State. Watch that game. Kansas State had an opportunity to put Texas away not once, not twice, maybe 3 times, and was unable to do that. And the Longhorns got out a win in overtime. So when you look to the college football playoff rankings and everything that kind of goes around with that, and I know that doesn't necessarily matter because it's rat poison. We all know that Alabama's road to the playoff relies on simply them winning. It is what it is, and that's kind of just how I feel about the playoff rankings. Let me get to my next topic real quick. I think I got a little off base there. Put the wrong graphic in. Game balls against LSU. You got to go with Jalen Milroe. I thought that was a fine performance by Jalen Milroe. 4 rushing touchdowns. Did an amazing job when he had to. When playmaking ability comes in big-time games, right? They always say big-time players shine up on big-time games. That's exactly what he did. Give him a game ball. On the defensive side of the ball, you look to guys who really stood out. I think that Dallas Turner did a really great job going up against, a quarterback who was really good, could get out the football really well. I think that Caleb Downs, once again, gets a game ball. He led the team in tackles. It's amazing that he can just continue to lead the team in tackles. He's a freshman. I know that Deontay Lawson went out. We're talking injury reports right now. Deontay Lawson went out. We should get an update on him. Ja'Cory Brooks, he was in an arm sling after the game. We'll get an update on him. And then Jalen Key, I think he had I don't know exactly what his injury was, but Coach Saban will update us today here on Monday. So those are the 3 guys we're watching: Jalen Key, Deontay Lawson, and Ja'Cory Brooks. And I know kind of everything around Ja'Cory Brooks has been, where is he? Why hasn't he been playing more? And I think for the wide receiver's sake, I mean, you look at the wide receivers that have been balling out. I mean, they've all been sophomores, and I talked about that yesterday. As the sophomores are really dynamic on this team. Let's name a couple on the offensive side. Jalen Milroe, he's a redshirt sophomore. Jaden Roberts, he's a redshirt sophomore. The wide receivers, Kobe Prentice, Isaiah Bond, Kendrick Law, Emmanuel Henderson, those guys are all sophomores as well. Tyler Booker's a sophomore. Amari Niblack's a sophomore. So, yeah, was this offense sophomoric at the beginning of the season? Absolutely. We continue to see that growth and maturation as we continue to move throughout the season. Alabama's on a 7-game winning streak. I think that really has to stand out to the playoff committee. Look at where this team has been from week 2 to now. Is there an offensive coordinator out there that wants to deal with Alabama's defense? No, there's not. Is there a DC that wants to deal with Jalen Milroe in Alabama's offense right now? No, there's not. Because when Jalen Milroe is unleashed, like Tommy Rees allowed him to be unleashed on Saturday against LSU, you can't deal with him, right? Acceleration, speed, power. You saw those squat racks come into play when he just bullied LSU multiple occasions. So this is a very dangerous quarterback, and he only continues to get more dangerous as we get going. Alabama's next 3 games, you got Kentucky, you got Chattanooga, you got Auburn. You cannot slip up in any of those games. You have to be able to win those games in 4 quarters of play. Kentucky is going to present challenges, 100%. They have a really good coach, and it's on the road. It's a late season SEC game. You can't sleep on Kentucky, 0%. Chattanooga, you got to do their thing against them, stay healthy. And then Auburn, everybody knows that game can easily go sideways no matter the case. Hugh Freeze has beat Nick Saban twice when he was at Ole Miss. I don't trust Auburn. You just can't look past Auburn in any way, shape, or form, even if you do wrap up the West with the victory over Kentucky. College football rankings talk, I already hit on that. I have Alabama at the number 4 spot. Tell me why you think that Texas right now is better than Alabama right now, as of today. If the playoffs the playoffs don't start in week 2. Texas beat Alabama head-to-head 1,000,000% in week 2. 100%. And that's a good team. That's a good Texas team. But right now, if they play this Saturday, who are you taking? Where's the money line on? What's the line for that game? Seriously. That's why I have Alabama at that top spot. And look, Ohio State, they're a good team. I just watched them the last 2 weeks against Wisconsin. Rutgers, not overly impressed. I think they're lacking some components on their team. Michigan, them in Penn State. We'll get to see how those two teams fare this coming weekend. Look, Will Riker missed 2 field goals. Not a big deal. Superman has an off night. Then he'll be back in action. It was the first time that he missed a field goal since the last Tennessee game, so it's all good. Coach Oates and the basketball team, they have their season opener tonight. So you got Coach Saban at the podium at 12, along with Jalen Milroe right after. And then tonight, Alabama takes on Morehead State as Alabama basketball open up their season tonight at Coleman Coliseum. Is actually a doubleheader as the women play as well, and we will bring you Nate Oates' press conference as well. All eyes kind of on Grant Nelson, who's a transfer from North Dakota State, who came to Alabama, 6'11", can play at a variety of positions. He can play at the 5, he can play at the 1. I mean, this guy is ultra talented, but it was Estrada who I think ripped off like 23 points or something like that in the scrimmage against Wake Forest, where Alabama then lost 88-80. I appreciate you guys joining in. Thank you very much. Let's do it right on Monday. We go to the phone lines. We got Mike and Austin. Let's get it started. Mike, I appreciate you being in, man. Thank you very much. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kyle. Good morning. And as far as I'm concerned, the committee needs to pull their head out. I mean, how in the world do Ohio State and Michigan take up 2 top spots in the top 4? Michigan hasn't played a top 25 team all year compared to the gamut that you just said Alabama went through, playing Texas and Ole Miss, both top 10 teams. Then they played Texas A&M, LSU, and Tennessee. Now they got to go play at Kentucky, then the Iron Bowl. How in the world they have Michigan ranked the number 2 team in the country, especially since they're a bunch of cheaters? I'm starting to lose, and they are cheaters. I'm starting to lose faith in the committee, to be honest with you. Now, the committee passed. I didn't have no problem in the committees in the past. I thought for the most part they'd done what was right, except for last year. But I'm quickly starting to lose faith in the whole process, and this college football needs a 12-team playoff. Thank goodness, starting next year, we're going to get a 12-team playoff, because I don't know if this committee is just ignorant or they're biased. But from this point, it's up to the committee to hold teams like Michigan. I use them as a prime example of playing a weak, pathetic schedule and cheating and keeping them number 2. It's up for the committee to police situations like that, but apparently they're not able to do so. But this committee needs to pull their head out, in my opinion. And Alabama beating LSU like they did in the fashion that they did, that was an awesome statement game, in my opinion, man. And them not move up, not one, maybe one, but not one spot in the in the rankings. Dude, I'm going to tell you about Oregon and Washington. They got no defense, man. They got no defense. Defense wins championships. Bama has the defense. Bama has the formula to win championships. Oregon and Washington doesn't have that. Florida State, the verdict is still out on Florida State. Yeah, they play a mediocre ACC schedule, yeah, but they're winning, so you can't take that away from them. And I got news for Bama fans, dudes. I'm a major Bama fan, have been my whole life. Bama can win out. They can win out, and the bias that I see coming from this committee, Bama still may not make the playoffs all the way to win out, simply by that one-loss team to Texas. Texas wins out, man. So it's going to be a go. Exactly right, Kyle.
On with Mike from Austin talking about the college football playoff rankings. We'll get to my next callers in just a minute. But when you look to what teams have done this past weekend, Michigan now 9-0, were able to take care of Purdue handedly. Ohio State was able to take care of Rutgers, now 9-0. Then you have Florida State 9-0, took care of Pitt. Georgia with a good win over Missouri. And I really think that Georgia should be ranked at that number 1 spot. I think that was a quality win. They're really their first quality win on the season against a good Missouri team. And then you have Bama, who was able to take care of LSU. And you kind of look to the remaining schedules for each of these teams. You have Michigan taking on Penn State, which everybody will be watching. That game's at 11 a.m. on Fox this coming Saturday. Ohio State, they have Michigan State, Minnesota. They don't play their next big game until the back end of their season, where they play Michigan. Florida State will be taking on Miami, and I think a game that will be really exciting. And then Georgia taking on a one-loss Ole Miss team. A lot of people forget that Ole Miss has only lost 1 game this season, right? I mean, they're still in the mix. I mean, Alabama hasn't even clinched the West because there's Ole Miss still right there, with just 1 loss. Now, if Alabama is able to take care of business this Saturday, then they will wrap up the West unless Ole Miss is able to beat Georgia. So have to stay tuned on that. Alabama's back-end schedule, we talked about that. Washington, when you look to the bottom left, you have games at Utah, Oregon State, and then underneath the bumper, you got Washington State. I still think that they could slip up in one of those games. However, that offense is really rolling right now. And then Oregon, I was looking at their schedule overall, just not impressed. I mean, I know they put up 81 points against Portland State, but where are their marquee wins, honestly? Just not really buying it. But I do think that, overall, they're a good team. Like, Oregon is a good team. They are a top 10 team. They are, top 8 team or whatever. I just think that the schedule of strength right now really has to come into play. You look at the back end balance and overall schedule for Alabama. Just these last 4 games, that was an incredible gauntlet to survive in. Plus, I don't like the playoffs like you, Mike, because the athletic director for Michigan is on the playoff committee. I mean, that reeks, to be honest. And look, the sign stealing and all that stuff, it's not a big deal to Alabama fans right now, or to Florida State fans right now, or to Georgia fans right now, because you're not playing Michigan, right? Think about this. If Michigan makes the playoffs and they run the table and they're number 1 and Alabama is number 4 and they play each other, the number one thing that people are going to be harping on, including Nick Saban, is about this sign stealing, 1,000,000%. So it's not a big deal until it's right on your plate. And I know that the committee said that they are ranking teams based off where they are at and how they are playing, not based on allegations. But as we've talked about, Mike, it seems like it's more than allegations. So I guess we'll have to kind of see what else transpires. What other points do you want to hit on besides college football, Mike, as we kind of turn the page to this next weekend of college football?
Well, it's like you say, Bama has a tough game at Kentucky this weekend. Bama should win that game, but like you said, they can't sleep on them. Kentucky's a decent team, so Bama still has another tough game to play. As far as Ole Miss, I will be surprised if Ole Miss beats Georgia. I'll be surprised. Georgia's a better team. I mean, it's possible, but I'll be surprised. This is why, man. Ole Miss, they're Ole Miss. They're still Ole Miss. Their ceiling is 10 wins. They've reached their ceiling. It's time for them to lose a game, and they're probably going to do it this weekend. So I'll be surprised if they beat Georgia, but it's possible. You never know. It's possible, but I'll be very surprised at that. But that was a great game. That was a great game this weekend against Alabama. It was a statement win. I just hate to see the bias coming out of the committee. And the rankings absolutely matter, because if you're not ranked in the top 4, you're not going to get the chance to hold up the trophy. But what I'm seeing play out in real time is SEC bias, Alabama fatigue. That's what I'm seeing out play in real time. This committee needs to get it together, in my opinion. And real quick, Kyle, that hit that Dallas Turner put on Jalen Daniels, Alabama was already up by 2 touchdowns at that point. So I don't think it really affected the game very much. Whether it was a dirty hit, a dirty play or not, I don't know. It did look like Dallas Turner put his helmet down a bit and dug in below his face mask. It did look at it like a little bit to me. Dallas Turner, he does have a history of driving quarterbacks to the ground. He does it every game for the most part. But I don't know if it was a dirty hit or not, but that was a great victory for Alabama across the board, man. And Bama's offense, is Bama offense elite? No, but I can tell you they are good enough to make it all the way to number 1 and win the big game. I can tell you they are good enough. Our Bama's defense is elite. But anyway, Kyle, I like tuning in. Thank you for taking my call. I like tuning in. And stay strong, man, and roll tide.
All right, roll tide to you. Thanks for calling in, Mike. That's Mike from Austin calling in this morning, getting the show started. I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much, fam. I appreciate you guys calling in this morning and listening to the show. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. I appreciate you guys being here. Kentucky is up next. We hit on a couple points. So when you call into the show, these are the topics that we're focusing in on. But if you have kind of an opening monologue, not afraid to hear that either. And I think regarding that hit on Jaden Daniels, look, Dallas Turner's a big man. He doesn't, and it's weird, like, because, I have seen Dallas Turner, like, when he comes to the media room and he talks, I mean, you look to this guy and he's, 6'4", 250 pounds. I mean, he doesn't have an ounce of fat on him. I mean, he really wears it well. And I mean, he hits hard. I mean, he just brings it. And I thought when he landed on him, I didn't necessarily think it was a targeting. I just thought the way that he fell on him, he was going to hurt, maybe like break his clavicle or something like that on Jaden Daniels, just the way that he landed on him. He's a monster of a man. So we're getting to this point in football to where hitting the quarterback is always under the microscope. Hitting a defenseless player certainly should be, but hitting the quarterback, I mean, that's part of football. That's what's made the sport so great. Look, he put his head into his chest, had his head up. And just like Brian Kelly even said, they reviewed that call. It's not like they didn't look at the call. They reviewed the call, and it wasn't a call. And I'm glad that Jaden Daniels is okay, because that man is an absolute baller. So is Malik Neighbors. My goodness. I was talking about this on my Sunday show. Did you guys know that he was targeted 17 times in that game? 17 times. I have never seen that in college football. I wonder like what the records are for a receiver being targeted the most, but 17 times. And Brian Thomas was only targeted 4 times in that game. And I love what Coach Saban said to Aaron Anderson after the game. And he didn't say it in a slight, and I don't think Coach Saban meant it out of, any disrespect to Aaron Anderson. But remember when Coach Saban was talking about, one guy left the transfer portal and he kind of wondered why. I was thinking about Aaron Anderson, honestly, because he got hurt here and then just left. And I know he's from Louisiana, so maybe he wanted to be back close or whatever. But Coach Saban told him after the game, look, you would be playing more if you were here at Alabama. Is that true? I don't know. It's kind of a hypothetical because you see all these sophomores balling out of control. But Aaron Anderson is a special player, has a lot of special abilities. And I think going forward, you're certainly going to see him shine for LSU because he is that good. But I thought that was a funny moment at the end of the game. 256, you ready? Let's go. Hey, I appreciate you calling in this morning. Thank you very much. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Man, what's up, man? It's Luke from Weaver, man.
Hey, what's up, Luke? I appreciate you being here, man. I remember the last time that you called and we chopped it up. You were telling people, look, get on the Jalen Milroe bandwagon. Believe in Jalen Milroe. Get off him. This guy is capable to win a big game. Believe in your quarterback, and look what he does. Comes through in an amazing performance against LSU, man. I appreciate you calling in. Welcome to the show, Luke.
What's up, man? First, I want to give a shout out to that dude who called before. That's where I'm from. I'm from Austin, Texas.
Yeah, cool.
I just came out here to help my dad, so when we do it out there, man, we got a lot of Alabama fans out there. And then, look at what they did. They took away the deep ball.
Mm-hmm.
They took away Milroe's best thing and what he do. He did everything they said he couldn't. You remember that? Did you see that little pass he threw to McClellan?
Mm-hmm.
Or McClellan?
Yep.
Where he was trapped, surrounded by everybody. Kept his head up, threw the pass to him. And then Will Riker went and missed the field goal, but which we can't blame him for. Everybody's gonna have a bad game, man. Mm-hmm. Will Riker's the top scorer in the NCAA football. Give him his flowers. That man's number one.
Yep.
Can't take it from him. Yep. He's gonna be great in the NFL.
Yep.
But man, that's what I've been trying to tell people since last year. And these other quarterbacks coming up, and I don't know what Daniel or Lonergan's gonna do, what Simpson's gonna do, because we got Julian Sand coming, and then somebody else, another 5-star quarterback, came to the game last week or on Saturday. I can't remember what his name was, but there's a lot of people wanting to come to Alabama.
Yeah, and I think
Simpson looks good.
And I think like the thing about Alabama too, because and Reese Davis, who spoke to him, and I know you guys watched that interview on Friday. There's a lot of people that want to see the dynasty dead. They want to stop talking about Alabama, and there's kind of that adage about Bama fatigue that 1,000,000% exists. And I think even on the recruiting front as well, I think other programs are trying to say that Coach Saban has lost it and this and that. This is one of Coach Saban's finest jobs coaching that I can remember, and I love the fact that this team has been laying in the weeds, that they are number 8 or 9 or whatever they are in the playoff rankings, because that has given Coach Saban that, for the first time since I've been here, reverse rat poison. That means the ability to be like, look, people don't believe in you. This is kind of the mindset that we have to have. Whereas, I've always covered Alabama. Think about this. I've covered 4 national titles since I've been here. And I've been here for 6 years. Like that's spoiled, right? So this particular team, I've never seen an Alabama team not be within like the top 4. So this is all new to me as well. And I think Coach Saban has really relished that. And I do agree with the points about Jalen Milroe hitting his running backs. I mean, Jace McClellan caught a 35-yard pass, and Jam Miller caught a 42-yard pass, and those were wheel routes. And I know a lot of people go back to that Texas game when he missed that wheel route to Jace. That would have been a touchdown for sure back in that game. But you continue to see this progression of him, and just kind of the overall playmaking ability for him is really something special, to be honest. What's up, Jarvis? I see you inside the comment box with the 10 spot in the super chat. He says Jalen Milroe is like a mixture of all Saban's best quarterbacks all rolled into one. I love it. If Milroe can keep making good decisions and knowing when to pass and when to run, this Bama team will be hard to beat. And that's why I said inside my message yesterday, there's not a defensive coordinator out there that wants to deal with Jalen Milroe. You're right, Luke. They took away the deep ball. And LSU's defensive backs, they did a good job. A lot of the coverage, they did a good job. But Jalen Milroe was able to beat you with his legs. I mean, the acceleration on Jalen Milroe is incredible. I mean, I like the elusiveness of Jaden Daniels, but like when Jalen Milroe gets going, he's flying. I appreciate it, Jarvis. What else you got, Luke?
Well, what they did, they took away the deep ball by keeping both the safeties in the back.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have a spy, so they had to stop either one. Either he's going to beat us with his legs or he's going to beat us with the deep ball. They gave him his legs, and he did what he had to.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Man, I ain't really got that much to say on this one, man. But I know Georgia better watch out.
Mm-hmm.
Lane Kiffin ain't playing. They've been talking about who would take over for Saban and stuff like that. And as much as, you know, Lane Kiffin is, you know, who he is, the troll and all that shit, you know what I'm saying? That dude's still smart as hell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he
I mean,
here and he can do what he do.
You look at Lane Kiffin and besides all that stuff, and look, you got to sell yourself in some aspects, and he's found an amazing way to do that on social media, staying youthful, having fun with it, not taking himself too serious. You know, he's always hot in the hot yoga, whatever. Outside of all that, like when it comes to the schematics on the actual field, pair him up with a really good defensive coordinator. That guy's winning national titles. Like, I mean, he's got the mindset, he's got the schematics. Sure. He's the quarterback whisperer that you need for your quarterback. So there was, and I kind of think back to when Ole Miss played Alabama. There was some wide receivers that were so open against Alabama. They were like 25 yards. You're like, where did this dude come from? So Lane Kiffin isn't playing, and he needs a statement win on his resume. Georgia hasn't lost since whenever. They're the two-time defending champ. Lane Kiffin needs a statement win on his resume as he continues to push for the job that he eventually wants, which is Alabama. And I think Alabama fans would be really happy if Lane Kiffin was, you know, whenever that is, the coach here. But, you know, he needs a statement win. And you're right, Ole Miss isn't playing. That quarterback is tough to deal with. They got the wide receivers. It's just going to be challenging to go in Athens. And the thing that Kirby likes, too, is that they're not ranked number one, that they had Ohio State kind of jump them. So now he can tell his team, look, they don't believe in you. They don't believe that we can win a national title without Brock Bowers. They certainly can. Georgia's a good team. Carson Beck, that guy's a baller at the quarterback position. Luke, make one more point, man, before I move to my next caller.
That dude Carson Beck is ugly. Yeah, they don't have Brock Bowers right now. And then just another point on this next year, man, I can't wait till next year. Because, man, I've been in these forums and everything on Facebook and everybody talking shit about how they would beat SEC teams. And, man, come on, bro. Besides Vanderbilt, everybody would have a problem with every SEC team we have.
100%.
But next year is put your money where your mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to back that shit up because there's 12 teams playing, and them 12 teams are gonna have to play SEC teams. Yeah. Because look who would be in it this year. You know, I don't think any of them teams can beat Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Or Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of them can. Because look at Washington and USC did, bro. They got no defense.
Mm-hmm.
Can't rack up 45 points on each other, man. Like. That's no defense at all.
Mm-hmm.
We do the same thing we just did to LSU.
Mm-hmm.
We would get a couple stops. They would score their points. Fuck it. They're going to score their points. They got great offenses.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to – we're going to get more stops than they are.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it comes – like you said, defense wins.
Yep.
Come on now. So,
hey, Luke,
next year, bro.
Luke, I appreciate you calling
in, man. I really
in,
want us to make it this year. This is the last 4 14 playoff. That's why we need to make it this year, because next year people are going to say, "Oh, well, you wouldn't have made it in last year." No, that's just people's way. They got to
everybody's going to be wondering about the this last year of the top four. Luke, I got to move to the next caller, man, but I appreciate you calling in. All right.
All right, man.
Take it easy, man. Luke from Weaver calling in. A couple super chats to get through. Quincy, what's up, man? I appreciate you, man. Thanks for the super chat the other day on Venmo, man. I really appreciate it. Quincy, it's been good rapping with you on email. I look forward to the podcast and the things that you got going on. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member right here on Bama Football on YouTube. To become a YouTube member, hit the join button and become a fan funder. I really appreciate you guys' support. Trying to skin the cat as many ways as possible because this is my full-time job, so I need you guys to become a member. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, check out the apparel that we got going on. So I really appreciate you guys believing in the product, believing in all the videos and staying tuned and basically just become a subscriber. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. We got another super chat coming in. That was from Kiltack with the 50 spot. Man, thank you so much. Way to start off Monday. Milroe looked dangerous Saturday. Still overthrowing the ball a little too much. Yeah, he missed on Isaiah Bond, and Isaiah Bond was like, man, we had that. We had that. And there was another ball that he threw, I think in the double coverage, as Luke said on our last caller, they floated the safety over, and Jalen Milroe threw it. That was the first kind of dangerous ball that we've seen him throw in a little bit. Luckily, it wasn't intercepted. I think it was overthrown, and then I think he missed Burton in another spot. Bond, once again, open all night, hit on that. The guy's everywhere. And I love the fact about Isaiah Bond. I was the one who caught that video of them. LSU is running out and Isaiah Bond is right in front. And look, and someone said this on Twitter, which they're absolutely right. That was some Tony Brown type stuff. 1,000,000%. Like that dog mentality. This is my field. This is my house. Like you can't just run out here and be comfortable. You're uncomfortable from the get-go. And Isaiah Bond, who would have thought that he would have been the guy to set the tone? Man, can't wait to see what he does for the rest of his time at Bama. Yeah, because I think when you look to future stars, being that he's only a sophomore, being that he has that mindset, has that mentality, that guy's a rideout. He's an alpha, clearly. I mean, if you're going to stand in front of, thousands of pounds of LSU running at you in the opener, man, look, and people are like, Coach Saban's not going to like that. I don't know. Like, I don't think the coaches encourage that, but there's no way you are going to tell a player not to be an alpha out on the field. Like, look, that dude's feeling it. This is his field. Like, you deal with it. And you want that. And I love that clip, to be honest. It was like, that's his field. Don't come here and expect to be comfortable. All right, we go to the next caller. It's a 250. Hey, thanks for being patient. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle. Good morning. This is Andrew Coggin. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Andrew? I appreciate you calling in from Beeham, man. You know what? I haven't been to Beeham in a little bit of time. And when I first moved here, it's crazy. I'll have lived here in Alabama now for 7 years at the end of the year. But when I first moved to Birmingham, I didn't know that it was a sleepy food city. Like the food there in Birmingham, man, there's so many spots. And I love the fact that it's on the rise. Like people don't know this about Birmingham is that it's regentrifying. So you go to all the different spots and all the different places you can go, of course you can eat fancy food up in Mountain Brook, but you can go down to 5 Points and have some incredible dishes. And all the spots, Homewood, of course, is beautiful. All the spots in Birmingham, and I've just been really impressed. But anyways, thanks for calling this morning. I appreciate it. We're talking kind of around the table, different dialogue topics to talk about. Welcome into the show, man. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. And like you said in Birmingham, real quick, lots of good restaurants. Been here my whole life. Definitely a growing city. But on to the topics. Just want to talk about not the previous caller, but the one before him, Mike. He really nailed it on the head. Mm-hmm. I mean, Washington, Oregon. Just want to say I'm really unimpressed with their kind of their schedule. I know they're playing pretty good right now, but I really haven't seen anything from them that's really led me to believe that they're two of the best teams in the country. Everything I say has already been said. Mm-hmm. I think Alabama fans are also alive right now. I think this win against Tennessee and LSU have been absolutely electric. I mean, this is exactly what this team kind of needed. And it's been such a joy to watch them grow and just, dominate. So that's really all I had to say, Kyle. Thanks for having me on.
But before you go, Andrew, let me ask you about this. Like, when you look to the college football playoff rankings, High Power TV, thanks for becoming a member, man. I appreciate you very much. When you look to the college football playoff rankings, don't you feel that it should be the rankings as of today, like November 6th? The next rankings will drop tomorrow night, Tuesday night. And that's when the rankings should be, looked at. And I get it. You got to look at kind of the whole season in a glance. And I get it. Head to head, wins certainly matter. But the committee certainly didn't have a problem ranking Texas above Oklahoma when Oklahoma beat Texas. You see what I'm saying? And I think right now, Bama fans and all of college football fans, it would be amazing to think, like, who wins right now? Alabama versus Texas. Week 2, Texas beat them up. They won. They came to Bryant-Denny. They took care of business. But as of today, is a Texas team better than Alabama? Sound off in the comment box. What's your take on that, Andrew?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think you could put you could put all 4 top teams against Alabama right now, in just my humble opinion. I don't think Alabama would have a single problem with any of them.
Yeah.
I mean, Washington, Oregon, we talked previously in the show a couple minutes ago, high scoring offense is great. Haven't really seen a solid defense there. Alabama's defense has grown immensely. And I think that really gives us the edge right now as where we stand here in November. Ohio State, again, same thing. Not a little bit more on the defense side, not so much on the offense side. So I think you can stand up Alabama against anyone right now as of November, as we stand right here. And I feel pretty confident about this team.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Andrew. Thank you very much for calling in from Birmingham, man. You have a good rest of your week, man. Stay tuned for Coach Saban at 12 p.m. and Jalen Milroe probably around 1 p.m. Appreciate you being here, man.
Sounds good, man. Roll Tide.
All right, roll Tide to you, man. All right, what's up, Jackson? I appreciate you asking the question, how do I donate? So there's a couple ways to fan fund. So you can become a member of the YouTube channel by hitting the join button. If you're on your computer, look for the join button. It's next to the subscribe button on the homepage of this YouTube channel. And you're on your mobile phone, you can just hit, it's kind of like a hyperlink there at the top. And you can become a fan funder, and then you could just hit the super chat, which is basically a $sign inside the comment box. I appreciate anything. Honestly, this is what I do for a full-time living. You have your full-time job, so do I, and I appreciate you guys being here to support me. With that said, we got a couple more callers calling in. We got a 443 and a 334 and a 337 just lined up. So I'll get to you guys next, and I appreciate you guys joining me this morning. These are the topics that we're hitting on as Alabama turns the page to Kentucky. Alabama, a 10-point favorite in this game against the Wildcats, in a game where you can't let it be a trap game. All eyes are now zoomed in on Alabama, right? There was that time where nobody thought that Alabama was going to be here at this moment. There were people that thought that Alabama couldn't win because Jalen Milroe's deep ball or intermediate passing or his lack of running. He's continued to let the naysayers know, honestly, that he is capable of leading this team to where they want to go. And their ultimate goal is winning the SEC West, number one, winning the SEC championship and putting Alabama in play to win yet another national title. And I've said this before, if Coach Saban is able to lead this team to a national title 1,000,000%, this will be Coach Saban's best coaching job, because there was a lot of holes on this team. There was a lot of coaching moments on this team that he's had to fix. And by the way, when we looked at this yesterday, Caden Proctor, you know, that guy that we were all hard on at the beginning of the year, as you can see, players grow up, right? This is Caden Proctor. These are his Pro Football Focus grades from the beginning of the season up until now. I'm going to zoom this in. This is from Pro Football Focus. This is an amazing statistic to look at. Let me hide this banner at the top left. So these are Caden Proctor, the left tackle for Alabama. These are his grades. Pro Football Focus is made up of former coaches of the NFL and NFL that grade the players each week. They're not the official grades from Alabama, but it does give you a reference point. His grade against Middle, okay, a team of different calibers, 66.9. We don't really know much about him at this point. Against Texas, he was beat up. Texas really only rushed 4 in that game, which is a scary thing. Their defensive line was ferocious. Then against South Florida, 49.3. Against Ole Miss, 58.7. Against Mississippi State, 61.8. You still went into that Texas A&M game, 52.6 against Texas A&M's phenomenal defensive front. And then against Arkansas, 48.3. Coach Saban has stuck with him. He's kept him at that left tackle position. He's made some changes at the interior position with the Jaden Roberts being there at right guard. And Jaden Roberts graded out yesterday at 88.3. If you guys want to see the Pro Football Focus numbers, let me know in the comment box and I'll put them on the screen. But you see these last two games of Caden Proctor and kind of the emergence of him from the growth perspective. And I think it's really shown that he is growing as a player. 75.9 against Tennessee, and Tennessee had the number 4 passing defense in the country, which is crazy. Then you have an open week, and then against LSU, a team with Harold Perkins, he has a grade of 71 flat. The thing about that game, and I'll get to my next callers in just a second, is the fact when you saw him rotating and running out, pulling. I mean, he was pushing some of these LSU guys back as far as possible. Caden Proctor, it's really been amazing to see his continued growth as a player. And I guess game balls, when you look to game balls, I think I'm going to give Caden Proctor a game ball now that I've thought about it. With that said, we go back to the phone lines. We got a 443. Yeah, I appreciate you calling in this morning. Kyle Henderson at Bama Football on YouTube. Who I'm on the line with and where you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle, this is Xander from Maryland, PA area.
Hey, what's up, Xander?
Real quick, just main thing wanted to talk about this Kentucky game. I just, when you look at the stats of this Kentucky game, I have a feeling that if Bama shows up properly, I could easily see Kentucky barely even scoring 7 points. It's pretty wild when you look at the statistics. They're barely averaging over 5 yards per play passing and just over 4 on rushing. And they're about to go up against one of the best defenses, probably best defense in the SEC. And if you can't even pass and you're going to make yourself one-dimensional in the run, I just don't see how that's going to work out for you well against this Bama defensive line with, what's his name, Njigbu, who's been just dominating everybody that tries to run at him. So I just don't see this going really well for Kentucky. I think it's possible that we could oversee Kentucky, with having such a intense LSU game and coming down from that. But that's usually, that's not very common for Nick Saban teams to do stuff like that. We usually have one bad quarter, but then they snap into it. So I could see, Kentucky getting that first little flash touchdown and then just getting shut down the rest of the game. But yeah, that's, I see us having a pretty good week. Milrose, finally started running. I think everybody's been waiting to see what happens. And maybe, Nick Saban, plays this 4-dimensional chess. Who knows if he was just, trying to get Milroe better at passing and was, trying to lock down the offense to only that, trying to avoid him running so that when we play teams that really mattered, like when he had to start doing it against LSU in that second half, and then all game against Tennessee in that second half, and then the whole game in LSU, we saw a totally different offense than we've seen the entire year. So, Nick Saban, he's a lot better coach than everybody else. So who knows what he's been doing. But yeah, this is exciting seeing this offense. This is, I think, what everybody wanted. And, this whole thing with this college football ranking that's just blowing my mind is, one, why is the Pac-12 even ranked within the top 10? Okay? It makes zero sense. If it was a good conference, why is it falling apart in front of us? Everybody's left the Pac-12. Next year, there's like 3 teams in the Pac-12. And then, other than Lincoln Riley, does anybody really, and the coach at Oregon, do we ever really go oh yeah, that offensive coordinator from, the Pac-12, he's going to be a superstar someday. He's going to make it to the NFL. That's the next Kyle Shanahan. No one ever talks about the Pac-12. Why are we acting like they're good? They play no defenses. Every time we act like they're good, they get blown out. Remember when Washington had this, John Ross, they were going to run all over Alabama in the playoffs, and then we just completely shut them down. Same thing happens with Notre Dame every year. We act like Notre Dame's good. They get to the championship, 0 points. This is ridiculous. If you don't play a defense at all, like in the Big 12 or Pac-12, then you're going to look like your superstar offense. if Alabama is getting penalized in the playoffs for having, messed up against West Florida, then why is Washington not being penalized for not scoring a touchdown against Arizona State?
Mm-hmm.
They did not score an offensive touchdown. So what are we talking about?
I wanted
This is
to
absurd. This playoff committee is ridiculous.
Let me. I'm bringing up because I brought this up yesterday. I'm talking about Oregon's schedule right here, and we're on the line with Xander calling in from Maryland, PA area. So you look at Oregon's schedule, okay, and you look to the schedule of strength, because I've been harping on schedule of strength. I asked Jalen Miro if he felt this team was battle tested, and look, Oregon and what Dan Lanning they're doing, I like it. It's a fun story to watch, but when you kind of zoom in to their particular schedule, here where things stand, okay, Portland State 81-7. Texas A&M in Lubbock 38-30. They beat up on Hawaii 55-10. They beat Colorado when Colorado was cool at that point. Remember, I think that game kind of propelled them more than people thought. People thought that Colorado was good when the rest of us knew that you follow college football. You're like, I don't know if Colorado's really that good. Like, it's kind of just exciting to see.
Yeah, but Vegas didn't think Colorado was good. Vegas had their under-over win total 3.5.
Yeah, and they're right on. They're right on it.
They barely gotten past that. They're at 4 wins. What are we talking about?
Then they went to Stanford and they beat up on the Cardinal 42-6. Then they lost to Washington 36-33 on the road. Beat Washington State 38-24. Beat Utah. I think they're giving a lot of credence to that Utah victory, going over to Salt Lake and taking care of the Utes. But I mean, other than that, I'm not impressed with Oregon's schedule whatsoever.
There's just like an absurd fallacy going on. Like, okay, so Utah beat, Florida at the beginning of the year, right? And so that somehow makes the Pac-12 good. Mm-hmm. But if Florida's so bad, then how is the Pac-12 good? Mm-hmm. The team that you're propping up, being Utah, as the team that is the measuring stick for how good your conference is, supposedly played a crappy team. Mm-hmm. So how does that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know where this logic that they're, it makes no sense. And it's got to be a stain on the committee that you have this allegations of cheating and you have an AD that is at that school sitting on the committee.
I know.
Like, you got to tell that guy, like, sorry, you can't be here, man. You're making us look like, we're biased.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That makes no sense. From, like, if you're ESPN and you want people to tune in, first off, the SEC is the money. Like, why would you let this look bad? Like, at least get rid of him. And if we have to deal with, nobody getting in because we beat Georgia and they put us at 5th, because that's probably what's going to happen. They're going to say, oh, you beat Georgia, but you still have a loss. So we're going to put, probably both Big Ten teams in again. And then they'll probably put FSU, who probably goes undefeated, and then whatever pack, probably Oregon or something, if they can beat Washington. So they'll probably say, like, well, Georgia lost and their strength of schedule stunk. And, Alabama, you lost to Texas and had that bad game at the beginning of the year, so you can't be in. I think that's what they're setting us up for, because the fact that we're 8th is kind of crazy.
You're looking at the playoff committee members right now on the screen. These are so basically how this works is the first college football playoff committee was announced in 2013. The group consists of 13 members who are generally served 3-year terms, although blah, 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 blah. So these particular individuals will determine the fate of the college football playoff. So let's just quickly look at it real fast. So you have the chair, who is from North Carolina State, the ACC. Think he has any pulls to Florida State? I don't know. It seems, I think you got to, root for your conference there. You have the Kentucky AD. You have Wyoming. What are they even? Look, I'm sure that guy's an amazing person, whatever, but like, why is he on the playoff committee? Colorado, he's on the playoff committee as well. Rick George. Look, great job hiring Dion and raising all that money, whatever you've done. But like, you guys haven't sniffed the playoffs. Like, in terms of the teams that you see and stuff like that. I mean, that's a Pac-12 bias right there. So was Wyoming. You have Navy. How are the individuals on this? And look, I don't know any of these people. I'm sure they're all great individuals who have achieved amazing things in their lives, whatever. But like, this is just how ridiculous it is. Okay. Kelly Whiteside, who's on the bottom, who I'm sure is an amazing writer, whatever they've achieved. And I'm not hating on the people. I'm just saying, like, this is so ridiculous to have these individuals determine the playoffs, because it really makes no sense. He's a former college football reporter for Newsday and Sports Illustrated. Right? Like, why? And then you have Will Shields from Nebraska, who's a former offensive guard. Like, this is it. This is what is going to determine the fate of Alabama football, and not only Alabama football.
Yeah, and former Penn State.
I'm saying the world of college football. Like Georgia deserves better. Michigan, look, you guys deserve better too. Ohio State, all of the college football in general deserves better than to have these people deciding how and who makes the playoffs. The Michigan athletic director is on the board.
Yes, the athletic director of a team who is being currently accused of cheating, and had to tell whatever his name is, he was released. What was it, like Friday of last week or whatever? So obviously something's going down. It seems like they're lawyering up. Yeah. I mean, there's some weird stuff going on. You have all the coaches going to the commissioner saying, "Hey, you got to do something about Michigan." Like Josh Pate is saying something's going to go down this week. We'll have to wait and see. Wow. But I mean, he tends to know some stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
This is just pure insanity. I just don't know. Like, if you're gonna there's just really bad logic going on, and that's what is absurd to me as a data scientist. You're saying Georgia doesn't deserve to be number one because of strength of schedule, and then you put Michigan and Ohio State in there, whose half of their conference barely is 500. Like, only one side of that conference has any good teams. They have a coach at Iowa who has contractual obligations to score points because he's so bad. Like, it's an absurdity. Like, this is the worst playoff committee I've ever seen. I get that we have one loss, and I get that, we have to go through, like, proving ourselves as better than these other teams. But we are getting better while other teams appear to be getting worse. Texas almost lost. They just lost their quarterback. He's going to be hurt for we don't know how long. I mean, some teams are getting worse. They penalized us last year when Bryce Young was hurt. So why wouldn't they do that again for Texas? That makes no sense. There's just like some really just absurd calculations being made. If the strength of schedule matters and rankings matter, then Alabama obviously would be a top 4 or 5 team. I understand putting us at 5. Florida State's got to go through their stuff. But again, Ohio State's big win was Notre Dame, right? They just got crushed by Clemson, who everybody was writing off. People are calling for Dabo's job. I don't know. This is getting ridiculous. It seems like they're purposely leaving Alabama out so that more fans in the SEC, because we have been we don't need a 12-team playoff. The SEC has been more of the 4 works because the 4 best teams are in, and it's always us, right? So we get complacent. We're like, yeah, it doesn't matter. 4 teams, and it seems like they're purposely leaving us out so that we will also be happy that this is turning into a 12-team playoff. I don't know. It seems odd.
Yeah,
the amount of former Big Ten is insane. Yeah. I mean, this is the most unbalanced committee I've seen. I don't know, but that's all I really got, man. Thanks for letting me rant.
All right, thanks, Xander. I appreciate you calling in, man.
Yep.
All right, Xander calling in from Roll Tide team. Xander calling in from the Maryland, PA area. I appreciate you guys. Look, if I didn't get to you guys on the call, I will be live Tuesday morning at 9, Wednesday morning at 9, Thursday morning at 9, Friday morning at 9. I appreciate you guys watching, liking, subscribing to all the content that we continue to produce right here. Hit the notification bell so you guys never miss a call, never miss a video that we drop. I got a busy schedule today, so real quick, I'm going to head from here. I'm going to recut a video, upload that, and then I got to go to the Mal Moore complex to get ready for Coach Saban, who will be at the podium on Monday at 12. Following that, you got Jalen Milroe. Along with that, and then after, we'll be continuing to pump out content all day long, and I'll be back online live tomorrow at 9 a.m. Remember, Alabama has a basketball game tonight against Morehead State. That'll be their season opener. They did drop an exhibition game to Wake Forest, but I think Nate Oates and what he has with this new team will be really interesting. Grant Nelson, I'm really excited to see him play. He's a 6'11 transfer from North Dakota State. You also have the Coaches Show with Coach Smoot, Coach Jared, and Coach Sean. Be sure and support them. They'll be on live tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time. My name is Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. I really appreciate you guys joining me this morning. Every day live at 9 a.m. from Monday through Friday. Thank you very much for believing in the product. Thank you very much for the super chats. Thank you very much for becoming a member. There is some Lank merchandise inside the comment box. My name is Kyle Henderson. One more time, coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And thank you for joining me this morning. Have a beautiful Monday, and we'll catch you soon right here on Bama Football on YouTube.